Thank you to a very special man, Orrin Hatch, for the introduction, and that was truly a nice introduction, and I appreciate it. You are a true fighter, Orrin. I have to say, I've gotten to know him very well. I've gotten to know a lot of people very well. You meet fighters, and you meet people that you thought were fighters, but they're not so good at fighting. He's a fighter. We hope you will continue to serve your state and your country in the Senate for a very long time to come. I want to especially thank you for the tremendous work in ushering massive tax cuts and reform through the Senate. Just happened, and we have a final step to go, and I predict we're going to be very successful. Talking about massive, massive tax cuts. It's tax cuts and reform, but I always mention tax cuts first because that's what people like to hear. We're now one huge step closer to delivering to the American people the historic tax relief as a giant present for Christmas. Remember I said we're bringing Christmas back? Christmas is back bigger and better than ever before. We're bringing Christmas back. And we say it now with pride. Let me just say to those here today and all across the country, Merry Christmas to everybody. And also, happy holidays and a great new year. We're going to have a great, great year. Joining us at this ceremony are many other tremendous leaders from Utah, including your great Senator, Mike Lee. Where's Mike? Mike, come. Mike. Come here, Mike. Get up here, Mike. He worked along with Orrin and the rest of them. We got it done. Mike, thank you very much.
It's not every day the President of the United States asks you to take the microphone from him. But I want to say, Mr. President, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being here. Thank you for standing with the people of Utah. We appreciate it deeply.
Thank you, Mike. I also want to recognize your fantastic representatives who are with us, Rob Bishop, John Curtis, Chris Stewart, and Mia Love. Thank you all. You're here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I have to really talk about a very special guy that I made Secretary of the Interior. Does he know the Interior? He knows it. He loves it. He loves seeing it and writing on it. Ryan Zinke, who truly believes in protecting America. He is protecting America. And nobody loves it more. Ryan, thank you. Just as he protected America as an officer of the legendary SEAL Team 6. He's a tough cookie, and you've done a great job. Thank you, Ryan. Governor Gary Herbert. Where's Gary? Come on, Gary. Come on, Gary. Get over there, Gary. And your wife, the First Lady, is fantastic. Thank you very much. First Lady. Thank you, First Lady. Attorney General Sean Reyes. Sean, thank you. Thank you. An original supporter of mine. You know, you always remember those original supporters. Greg Hughes. Greg, thank you. He was an original right at the beginning. Thank you, Greg. He had a feeling. Finally, I want to recognize the members of the local Utah Navajo. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. We're profoundly honored by your presence here today, and I'm thrilled to be here with so many wonderful friends, so many people that saw something a little special, and they said, we're with him, and I'm really working hard to put it back, and that's what we're doing today. This magnificent capital in your incredible state, and it is special people in a special state. Thank you very much for being here. I've just come from touring Welfare Square with Senator Hatch and some amazing people from the leadership of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. Special. I spent a lot of time with them. In fact, I went around the store. I wanted a nice can of tuna fish. And they had plenty. They really help people. Incredible. After our visit, I can truly say firsthand that Utah's awesome natural beauty is exceeded only by the warmth and grace and hospitality of its citizens. This state has many natural treasures, but its greatest treasure by far is its people. And we will ensure the right of the people to live according to the faith in their hearts, which is why we will always protect your religious liberty. And we've been doing that. I know all of you feel blessed to be living among some of the most glorious natural wonders anywhere in the world. You cherish Utah's gleaming rivers and sweeping valleys. You take inspiration from its majestic peaks. And when you look upon its many winding canyons and glowing vistas, you marvel at the beauty of God's great creation. And that is why I'm here today. Because some people think that the natural resources of Utah should be controlled by a small handful of very distant bureaucrats located in Washington. And guess what? They're wrong. The families and communities of Utah know and love this land the best, and you know the best how to take care of your land. You know how to protect it. And you know best how to conserve this land for many, many generations to come. Your timeless bond with the outdoors should not be replaced with the whims of regulators thousands and thousands of miles away. They don't know your land, and truly, they don't care for your land like you do. But from now on, that won't matter. I've come to Utah to take a very historic action, to reverse federal overreach and restore the rights of this land to your citizens. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But before I began, because I understood how big it is, I'm a real estate developer. When they start talking about millions of acres, I say it again. That's a lot. So before I began, I met with Senator Orrin Hatch, who loves Utah and loves the people of Utah. I called Senator Mike Lee, who loves Utah and loves the people of Utah. I called your governor. I called my original, where is he? There he is. I called all of the friends that I have in Utah. I said, what do you think? I said, will this be good for our country, and will it be good for your state? They said this would be incredible for our country, will be incredible for Utah. Finally, you'd be giving people back their access to the land they know, to the land they understand, and most importantly, to the land that they love. I also said will it be at all controversial? They all told me no. How did that happen? I don't think it is controversial, actually. I think it's so sensible. Therefore, today, on the recommendation of Secretary Zicke, and with the wise counsel of Senator Hatch, Senator Lee, and the many others, I will sign 2 presidential proclamations. These actions will modify the national monuments designations of both Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante. As many of you know, past administrations have severely abused the purpose, spirit, and intent of a century-old law known as the Antiquities Act. This law requires that only the smallest necessary area be set aside for special protection as national monuments. Unfortunately, previous administrations have ignored the standard and used the law to lock up hundreds of millions of acres of land and water under strict government control. These abuses of the Antiquities Act give enormous power to faraway bureaucrats at the expense of the people who actually live here, work here, and make this place their home. This is where they raise their children. This is the place they love. For example, the previous administration designated more than 500 million acres of land and water, including Bears Ears. It did so over the loud objections of the people of this state and their elected representatives. Governor, right? The results have been very sad and very predictable. Here and in other affected states, we have seen harmful and unnecessary restrictions on hunting, ranching, and responsible economic development. We have seen grazing restrictions prevent ranching families from passing their businesses and beloved heritage on to the children that they love. We've seen many rural families stopped from enjoying their outdoor activities, and the fact that they've done it all their lives made no difference to the bureaucrats in Washington. We have seen needed improvements like infrastructure upgrades and road maintenance impeded and foreclosed. We have seen how this tragic federal overreach prevents many Native Americans from having their rightful voice over the sacred land where they practice their most important ancestral and religious traditions. These abuses of the Antiquities Act have not just threatened your local economies, they've threatened your very way of life. They've threatened your hearts. Our precious national treasures must be protected, and they, from now on, will be protected. Under my administration, we will advance that protection through a truly representative process, one that listens to the local communities, that knows the land the best, and that cherishes the land the most. With the action I'm taking today, we will not only give back your voice over the use of this land, we will also restore your access and your enjoyment. Public lands will once again be for public use. Because we know that people who are free to use their land and enjoy their land are the people most determined to conserve their land. One values the splendor of Utah more than, I'll tell you what, there's nobody out there. I just came in and I'm looking around with Orrin and with Mike and with the governor and with everybody, and I'm just saying, what a beautiful picture it is. But no one values the splendor of Utah more than you do, and no one knows better how to use it. With your help in treating our natural bounty with respect, gratitude, and love, we will put our nation's treasures to great and wonderful use. Families will hike and hunt on land they have known for generations, and they will preserve it for generations to come. Cattle will graze along the open range. Sweeping landscapes will inspire young Americans to dream beyond the horizon, and the world will stand in awe of the artistry God has worked right here in your great state. Together, we will usher in a bright new future of wonder and wealth, liberty and law, and patriotism and pride all across this great land. Thank you to the wonderful people of Utah. May God bless you, and may God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And in your honor, I will now, with your representatives, sign this very, very important proclamation. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Modifying the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument by the President of the United States and representatives. Thank you very much. I think we'll give this one. Thank you. Modifying the Bears Ears National Monument. And we're going to do the following. We have some great people, Governor. How do I give these things? Mr. Cook, will you sign my hat? I'll sign. He wants me to sign it. Somehow less important. I will do it.
And a firm handshake there from the President of the United States to some lawmakers there in Utah. He put his signature on his hat. He also put his signature on two very important documents. Those are presidential proclamations modifying the national monument status of two national monuments there in the state of Utah at the state capitol. Hey everyone, I'm Amna Nawaz. We're going to walk you through what happened there and why it matters. Also some of the other big headlines we're following around President Trump and what's coming out of Washington, D.C. today. You saw there the result of a long review President Trump had asked his Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke to carry out, looking out at 27 different national monuments. This is the first modification to come as a result of that review. I want to go to the room now. My colleague Gloria Rivera is there at the Utah State Capitol. She's traveling with the president. And Gloria, for anyone catching up on the headlines today, this is not one of the president's stated agenda priorities. So why is this coming now? What's the significance of this decision today?
Well, it is very significant. In fact, it is the first time in more than half a century that a president has attempted and now today succeeded in reversing those proclamations on some national monuments here. You saw him sign that presidential proclamation on Bears Ear National Monument. Now, we have been told prior to this speech, which we can now share with you, the Bears Ear acreage was at 1.35 million acres. That's now going to go down to 230,000 acres. What you saw immediately after he signed that proclamation were cheers and then chants of 4 more years. This hall is filled with several Republican state, local lawmakers, and they have been pushing their Senator Orrin Hatch, to do something about this. And before the president took the stage, Senator Hatch introduced him by saying it was at the end of the Obama administration that he says he was blindsided when President Obama established those 1.35 million acres for Bears Ears. Hatch said he immediately went to President Trump to try to do something about this. And what we saw today is indeed he has radically changed the size of both Bears Ears, and the other one is the Grand Staircase Escalante site. Both of those now severely reduced.
So Gloria, help us understand a little bit what the practical impact of these designations or the change in the designations will be. Who benefits from this and who loses?
Well, immediately when the president came here today, what he said was this. He said, you here in Utah know how best to use this land, how best to love this land, and it should not be controlled, his argument is, by bureaucrats who are so far away in Washington, D.C. So immediately you're going to see a few things happen. You're going to see this land reopened to grazing, and we saw a lot of cowboy hats here. We were told there were several ranchers in the audience here today. They will now be able to open up this land to grazing for cattle. Now, environmentalists have a problem with that. They say that overgrazing causes severe and environmental negative impacts. You're also going to see this land opened up for recreational use. Today, if you were to walk out, and I was just out on these lands recently last week, it is quiet. You're going to see now families be able to use their ATV vehicles to go out to hunt and fish again on this land. So it will be a very big difference from what you see now to what you'll see in a very short time. The president also arguing that federal management restricted the upkeep and maintenance of these areas. So you will see some infrastructure projects likely get started. Improvements to roads, improvements to areas around it. But essentially what it does, the president argues, is it gives back control to the state level. You're going to see these areas managed now by the Bureau of Land Management and the National Forestry Service. Those organizations have people on the ground here in Utah who they say can better listen to the locals for how this land can be used.
Gloria Rivera live there with the president in Utah. Gloria, hang with us just a second. I know you're with the president. Would love to come back to you to see if we have any reaction on some of these other headlines. But over at the White House, my colleague Jordan Phelps joins us live as well. And Jordan, I want to ask you, we saw President Trump there with Senators Orrin Hatch, Senators Mike Lee, two of the Republican senators who have helped to bring him one step closer to his first big legislative win. What are we hearing from the White House on how tax reform will move forward from now?
Yeah, that's right, Amna. The president saying this brings him one step closer to delivering that Christmas present to the American people in the form of tax relief. We know here at the White House there actually was a major victory over the weekend, bringing them one step closer to this in that the bill passed the Senate. Now, there are still major differences between the House and the Senate version that, of course, have to be reconciled. We don't know at this point whether it's going to go back in conference at this point, but of course, those issues still have to be resolved.
Jordan, I want to ask you also about another bit of news we've got today. It's something that President Trump hasn't addressed directly until today, and that is the special election that's coming up just 8 days away in Alabama. Of course, Roy Moore is the Republican candidate there who faces several accusations of sexual assault and misconduct years ago in Alabama. We've had the president finally weigh in on Roy Moore and endorse him. What are we hearing from the White House about that?
Yeah, the president actually spoke to Roy Moore on his way to Utah on Air Force One today, had a conversation with him where he expressed his support for Roy Moore. I mean, it's really striking now to see the president really throwing his support fully behind Roy Moore. Obviously, that's critical for Moore. We know that the president has previously made, comments about how Doug Jones would be bad. But this, of course, a notable endorsement.
And Jordan, do we know anything about why the endorsement is coming down now? Why he views Senator Moore, the candidate for Senate, Roy Moore, as an important part of his plan moving forward?
Yeah, Amna, one thing about the timing here that's interesting is it's coming on the same day that a lot of the headlines are talking about the Russia investigation. We know, of course, on Friday that Flynn made a plea agreement in the special counsel's case. So the president, for one part, may very well want to detract from that storyline that continues to dog this White House. So that it's possible that factored in to the White House's calculation here.
And let me ask you a little bit about some of the tweets from over the weekend, too. There were a flurry, some of them attacking Hillary Clinton, some attacking the FBI, it seemed, as well. There was one in particular I wanted to ask you about. Maybe we can bring it up here. It came from the president's Twitter account, and it went back to sort of explaining his reasoning for firing then his national security advisor, General Flynn. This, of course, comes on the heels, of course, of the breaking news on Friday when General Flynn pleaded guilty to one charge of lying to the FBI. And in this tweet, we saw President Trump tweet that he lied to both the vice president and the FBI. That was General Flynn, and that was why the president had to fire him. That, of course, contradicts the long-held White House story that Flynn was fired solely for lying to Vice President Pence. What are we hearing from the White House on that now?
Yes, the president rather appeared to make an explosive admission that he knew Flynn had lied to the FBI before he fired him, and that was one of the reasons. Of course, that does not track with the story. We only knew from the White House that he had fired him because he misled the vice president. We've heard from the president's personal lawyer now explaining that the president did not, that he actually drafted this tweet, not the president. So the president's lawyer taking the fall for that tweet. And the rationale they're offering now, Amna, is that the president only knew that Flynn had offered the same phony story to FBI agents as he had offered the vice president. But the Trump legal team argues that because the president it was not characterized by the Department of Justice as a lie, the president did not know that Flynn had lied to the FBI at the time. So they're really threading a needle here. It's basically laying out that, yes, the president did have reason to believe that Flynn had given the FBI incorrect information, but because the DOJ hadn't characterized it as such, they say the president didn't know.
And Jordan, just to be clear here, the explanation for that specific tweet is that it did not, in fact, come from the president, but rather from his personal attorney. Is that correct?
Yes, his personal attorney, John Dowd, is taking the fall for this, saying that he drafted the tweet and then sent it to the president's social media director, Dan Scavino. They're not going into directly whether or not Scavino sent the tweet or whether the president himself. But of course, Amna, it goes without saying that the White House has said on multiple occasions that the president's tweets are official statements. This tweet still stands on the president's Twitter feed at this moment. So the White House is not retracted this statement or offered any clarification, even if the president's lawyer has. So notable that this is still an official statement from the president of the United States at this moment.
And not to drill down too deeply on this, but just also for clarification, have we ever had an instance in which the president's attorney has come forward to say, that was my tweet, not the president's?
No, and I don't think that any of the president's attorneys, if they're worth their weight, are recommending that the president tweet on this topic. This is obviously something that any lawyer wouldn't want the president to tweet on. But Dowd in this case saying, you know, look, I'm out of the tweeting business. It was a mistake. Obviously, this is a bit of a fishy explanation. It doesn't seem to make sense that Dowd would have sent this tweet out, but that's the explanation they're offering, Amna.
Jordan Phelps at the White House there. I think we still have Gloria Rivera with us over at the Utah State Capitol. Gloria, you are traveling with the president. Have we heard anything else from him on any of these headlines about the possibilities of tax reform moving forward? We saw him mention it in the speech right there about Roy Moore, or anything else about General Flynn's admission of guilt.
President Trump kept this almost strictly to the issue today about those national monuments. But in the beginning of his speech, we saw it just a few minutes ago, he said that he would be delivering a big, beautiful tax cut to Americans by Christmas. He said that that looked very likely to happen. That reflects confidence on the part of the White House. Lawmakers in both, GOP lawmakers in both the House and the Senate, have said they feel the odds are good they will get tax reform to pass. But remember, there are hurdles ahead. Both the House and the Senate have to reconcile the differences in their two bills, and some of those differences are significant. They've got to get that done. They say they can do it. They say they can get a version to the president's desk so he can sign it by Christmas. This is a big December for the president. This step here in Utah alone may be much smaller than tax reform for the country as a whole, but here in Utah and the other steps, the other states in which Zinke was looking at sites, those 27 sites really across the West Coast, there are more steps ahead that Zinke wants to get to. So the president could be signing presidential proclamations restricting the size of those monuments in several other states. It was cheered today. I mentioned that after he signed the first proclamation on Bears Ears, the crowd erupted into chants of 4 more years. So you can see the president at least taking some time to celebrate both tax reform and, here in Utah, this move on national monuments. Amna?
Gloria Rivera live with us, traveling with the president today in Utah. Thanks to Gloria. Thanks also to Jordan Phelps over at the White House. And thanks to you for watching. If you want to get more on any of these stories, head over to abcnews.com anytime or download the ABC News app. Get all the breaking news headlines right to your phone. For now, I'm Amna Nawaz, and I'll see you back here soon.
She claims Carter is making insidious demands